Hello, hello. How's it going today, guys? My name is Slay, and I'm joined with everyone here today. Yeah, we're going to be talking about toxic relationships. Now, what I mean by toxic relationships is a very gross generalization of any relationship that you can have. And at this point, even with inanimate objects. Blah, blah, blah. Anything as far as your parental relationship. Uh, Obviously, romantic relationships are a lot of people's go tos, which is understandable. Uh, but really, any relationship in general, I want to chat a little bit about what makes a toxic relationship, how we can kind of recognize that we're in one, and ultimately how to deal with a lot of them. You're definitely going to hear a common theme from me. If somebody's toxic and somebody is not right for you in every regard, chances are it's time to move on. But I digress. That's going to be the conversation we're having today. I'm joined with Anime, B, and Davey today. How's it going, guys?
What up? What up? How's it going, everybody? Y'all doing all right today?
Hola, it is the anime. How is everyone doing tonight? Hope everyone's doing well. Have fun with tonight's podcast.
And I guess B is AFK right now. That's fine. So I want to get this discussion started off. The first kind of thing that we're going to bring up today is what even is a toxic relationship? Um, how would we define a toxic relationship? I've always defined it as something like you, as somebody who is giving something to somebody, kind of not really expecting anything back, but obviously there is a give and take when it comes to relationships. But typically there's a deficit in the amount that is being reciprocated. So, what I mean by that is if I am giving, 100% to a relationship and they're only given 50 and they're mainly taking from me rather than trying to grow the relationship and as a person, that's typically what I would consider a toxic relationship. But I'm going to leave the floor open here. What do you guys think? What would you define as a toxic relationship?
I'll let you go first, anime. I think I
Ladies
went first
first,
last.
Davey.
Ladies first. Wow, that's toxic. But
That was
I
I
mean,
Yep,
was
this
I
is
was doing
this is
that to
the
give an
toxic
example.
relationship we're talking about. Let's break it down.
right,
I was
friends.
I was do I was doing it to give an example. Don't mean I have love for you, Davey. You know,
Right.
no
Good cover.
disrespect, nothing like that. I was just trying to give a good example.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
But I gotta
Uh,
respect my elders.
right. So who's you want me to go first on this?
Uh, if you want to, go ahead. You
I
have more
mean,
life experience than what I do, so I mean it would fit for you to
I
go
mean,
first.
okay. What I would consider a toxic relationship, I guess it was the same. Same as kind of what you were saying, Slay. In my opinion, it's something that's just a non-beneficial relationship to you or possibly both of your partners. I mean, both people in the relationship. Uh, just something that's not healthy for either of y'all, one or both. So, I mean, if it's not benefiting you and it's not benefiting them, it's kind of one of those things like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the crux of really what it's like a toxic relationship is. Like, what are we even doing here if neither of us are happy, and so on and so forth. But what do you think, Anime?
I mean, I really go along the same lines. I feel like a toxic relationship is going to be something that's not really. There's no benefit. There's no like benefit factor within it. I mean, some relationships don't. Um, Romantic relationships, yeah, you're gonna personally feel like there's a benefit to it, and there may be. Relationships, sometimes there's really no benefit. You just get told what to do, but that's how life is. But I mainly agree with the statement that you two said. You know, it was very well said. Could have took the words right out of my mouth with it, and actually made them better.
Well, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll take it easy with taking shit out of your mouth, but
Oh no, put it back in, please. I'm kidding.
Pause.
but anyway, with all of that being said, with these kind of toxic relationships, what are some signs? What do you look out for? Is anyone gonna have like a personal thing that they kind of see and they go, oh, that's toxic. Gotta watch out for that. Anything like that at all?
Anime, it's your turn.
You guys just turned into robots for me.
No,
Oh.
that's your turn now, buddy.
All
Anime.
right. All right. Flags for me, it's these are really just different things. So I would point out narcissism. That's a big one for me.
Oof.
Controlling too. Like for me, when I realize someone's like starting to demand me what to do and saying I can't do this or I can do this, that's a really big flag for me. I get very unhappy, and that is another thing. Being unhappy, if so to say, you're fighting every single day and there's no difference in it. You're not happy. Everything's being pinpointed on you, like pinpointed. Sorry, I can't really speak today.
That's
But
okay.
those are some like one of my. Like, I have quite a lot of red flags because I've been in quite a lot of toxic relationships. My latest one was with my son's mother, and very very controlling, very narcissistic, and mentally abusing. Those are a lot of things. When you feel like this, like the individual is sucking the joy out of you, run.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it really like the way that I like to define it, and I guess the question that everybody should be asking is, okay, so if we figure out what a toxic relationship is, what the quickest way to figure out what a toxic relationship is honestly most likely is trying to find out what a healthy one is. What does a healthy relationship look like? And that question is very easily answered with the growth. In all honesty, like that's the crux of every relationship, whether it be like a romantic relationship or a friendship, a partnership, anything like that. It's all about growth. And if you are not willing to grow as a person to either produce something or to to just be better in general, you're kind of being toxic. And again, not every relationship is very clear cut. Not every relationship is simple as we can put that here today. But there are things that need to stay simple. Oh, well, we started. But there are things that do need to stay simple. And that is
How much did I miss?
a lot. With all the things that need to stay simple, the one thing is that if you're happy and you don't feel any type of emotional baggage, heaviness, or it's not hard to be we're setting the bar real low here, but if it's not hard for you to be nice to your partner, then you're
Sorry
in a
about
pretty
that.
good relationship. So with all of that being said, if you want to look at what a toxic relationship is, you have to understand what a healthy one is. And usually growth is a really good measure of anything. And obviously communication goes a long way, and you can really rope communication into your growth, because when you're growing as a person, typically it comes down to how much are you communicating with the people that you love, and how much are you communicating with the people around you to be that better person. Because we've all seen kind of the person that just thinks that everything that they do is correct, and no matter what you say or do, it's their way or the highway. They're absolutely right. And that's not how it goes. That's not how any of that goes, and we all know it. But the biggest downfall to any relationship definitely starts with, are you willing to grow? Are you willing to change? Are you willing to understand that there are not just one answers to problems, there's multiple answers, and you got to learn. That's all it comes down to. But uh, anything you guys want to add to that? You feel any type of way from what I was saying?
No,
Well, I
in
wasn't
my
really
opinion,
here
I
for it,
mean,
so
you
I
hit
don't
it
have much to add.
pretty much on the head because I think people have this unrealistic idea of we're always happy, we never fight, where's never, every day is a good day, and it's just not the case. Because, I mean, growth. It's like you said. I mean, me and my girlfriend, we used to argue all the time, and it was, a me, me, me. Well, I want this. Well, I want this. And it's like, okay, that's cool. What about what I want? And I'm not gonna lie, these past 2, 3 months, she's actually been pleasant to be around, and I've let her know that, like, hey, I appreciate this because it's a lot easier to be around you. I don't feel like I have a sense of anxiety when I come over to hang out because it's like, well, when are we gonna fight again? When are we gonna, you know, be break up for a day and get back together? Because it's like I don't want to do that. I mean, at my age, and she's younger than me, and so like you said, my thing was growth. Like I understand that you're young, and I know some people feel slighted sometimes when you say things like that, like, oh, you're young, blah blah blah. But no, there's young people that can be mature. There's young people that can take a step back or younger and look at what they're doing versus it being just a me 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 because there's people of all ages. I mean, we're close to 30 and I'm sure there's still people like that, but it's a matter of if you're willing to change and not necessarily change but improve, and be willing and be open to other people's points of view, especially a person that you supposedly want to spend the rest of your life with. But that's just from the relationship side, not from the mother, father, those type of deals.
Yeah, no, exactly. B, you being of the younger generation yourself, uh, is it easy for you to recognize like really, really bad characters? Like, is it easy for you to recognize kind of where that toxicity lies in all of your relationships?
It's been easy enough, but I have been in one toxic relationship that. Oh no, I've been in multiple, probably like three that I felt really bad afterwards because of how I was treated. So
All right. And with that treatment, did you feel like it was one of those kind of relationships where you were given a lot and they were taking a lot but they weren't giving a lot back?
one of them definitely, but the other one, they just like didn't really we didn't do much together, but like they still talked about me a lot.
Okay. Well, that does bring me to the next question too. A merit of good relationships is, for me anyway, I guess I'll take the mantle here and say this is very personal, but I very much believe that honesty is the key of any relationship. Whether, again, if it's a business partnership, a romantic relationship, or even friendship, you have some sort of modicum of honesty. And honesty can rear its ugly head and be just that. It could be super ugly. It could be one of those things that they need to hear. They might not want to hear it, but they need to hear it. And again, this all comes to what you label as toxic, what you would want in your life. And if you want to surround yourself with people that are willing to lie to you and, be like that, then I guess, again, it all comes down to what you personally preference. But I for one, honesty is like the number one key for me. And as soon as you're dishonest, it's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely one of those things where, like, well, I can't trust them anymore with anything. So, but and
Definitely.
it all comes down to growth too, because I don't expect everybody to feel the way that I do about things, and it's not always so cut and dry all the time, but every relationship has levels, and your toxic relationship could be the romantic relationship. It's like the top notch level. You share bank information, you're considering marrying this person, you're in a house together, you're thinking about having kids together, so on and so forth. You want some like some trust there, just a little, if I'm being sarcastic, but in all seriousness, you need that trust. And when it's not there, it does breed toxic behavior, not even from them, but from you, right? Because how many times have we all had this complaint with somebody that was just super overbearing? We felt like it was unwarranted, but they let you know that they just don't trust you because of XYZ, so on and so forth. All of these things kind of pile up, and you become this toxic shell of who you are, insecure, all of these other things, and you might not even recognize it because in your mind it all makes sense. This person's lying. I caught them in a lie. They've done it a few times. I'm tired of this. I don't want this anymore. And you become resentful. And unfortunately, that does lead down the road of toxic behavior that breeds into a toxic relationship. So, with that being said, Davey, I know in the past you've had, a real rough time with a lot of your relationships because you feel you put a lot into your relationships and nobody really gives anything back. Would you say that you've become a little more keen on like understanding like little things like just telling white lies to kind of be the stepping stones into a much bigger issue?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, a lot of the times, especially in my relationships early on, like little white lies either pacify them or like let them say whatever. Even if I know that they're lying, it's just like it's not that big of a deal. But a lot of times, whenever you let a little lie go, then this other lie may seem like it can slide, and then it just keeps building up into a bigger situation where you end up getting mad and frustrated. But it's like, well, you allowed them to lie to you before. Now they think this is okay. So it's like, yeah, you can be mad at them, but you kind of nurtured this way of thinking or this behavior. So you can't really blame anybody. I mean, you can blame them, but you got to blame yourself as well, in my opinion.
Okay. So let's get a little controversial here, or maybe tear it apart. Anime, I know you're probably going to have some things to say about this because I think you've lived it from what we talked about previously. But do you believe that somebody else being toxic in that relationship, if you stay with it long enough, could actually taint you as well and make you kind of go down the path of toxicity as far as like you know it's happening, but you're almost just doing it out of spite. You can feel yourself being worked up where historically wouldn't have been worked up about this, and you can feel yourself wanting to do very hateful things or just spiteful things out of just that spite. Do you agree with that notion that people can change for the worse in toxic relationships?
100%.
Okay.
I very much do, but there's also it can go the same. They can change for the better as well.
Okay. Well, without placating to that idea, let's keep it a
Right.
little controversial here. The reason why I asked that starter question is, whose fault do you think it is?
In all honesty, I can't fault. I wouldn't be able to fault anyone because in a way it's both.
Okay.
So I say obviously the one who's being toxic originally, yes, they're obviously very very much have influenced the individual and have started that process. But the person who is changing to become toxic, I believe they're also partially to blame for having a weak will. You
That's
know,
that's a very fair point.
if you don't have a strong enough will, if you realize that these situations, these relationships you have are very toxic, and you just keep staying with it, and you're just letting it happen at that point in time. Then if you start to change and become that way, that is not just on them, that is on you, because you knew it was happening. You could have backed out at any given point in time and went down that good path while you still had, quote unquote enough will to do better, but instead you stay because you believe these, as you could say, they could be white lies or really, really big lies, or not just lies, but it could be within yourself. You could, down talk yourself. Your will breaking down um, will also really, really stop you from doing a lot of things. So that's where I lie on it. Is it's both parties.
Okay. Davey, how do you feel about that?
I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in the middle as well. I'm, let me pass it to B and let me think just a little bit more on it because I'm trying to think of how to word this correctly. If you
Okay.
don't mind.
No, quite all right. B, who do you think is at fault in a relationship that's been toxic since the beginning, but you start to become toxic after a while of being in that said relationship?
Like, it's both people's fault, but mainly the person who was toxic at the beginning. And I
Okay.
feel like it's not as much the person who grew to be toxic as they were most likely just learning to manually deal with it and with that mindset.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with it's the person who became toxic. And I'm going to say it's because at the end of the day, you saw the signs, you decided to stay, and then you're becoming the thing that you don't like, just to be able to deal with the relationship and to be able to, kind of combat their toxicity. And in a sense, you don't like it being done to you, but now you stayed in this relationship long enough to be able to hurt the person that you supposedly love because that's the only way you can stay with them. That doesn't make sense. That's kind of toxic in itself. Like you became this person that you didn't like just to be with somebody, and it's still bad. Now you're both just toxic and making the relationship worse instead of leaving, giving the person that you're with the opportunity to find somebody that maybe they won't be as toxic with, or maybe they, for whatever reason, and I've seen it plenty of times, they meet somebody that may do exactly what you did and they just don't learn or appreciate it until after, y'all's time together has passed. So, I mean, if you notice it early and you decide to stay, it's different if you decide to just try to nurture them and love them and show them, the way that, you love them and how you can possibly make them better or help, just teach them. I don't want to say make them better, but just help them learn different things. But yeah, staying in it and just making them feel the pain that you feel is not okay. And I kind of blame the person for staying and becoming that the way that they are. Sorry, voice started cracking. Had some food.
Oh, you're all right. I wholeheartedly agree. The reasons differ though. So my reason is if you're not strong enough to leave a toxic relationship, then you're not ready to have that type of relationship. And again, this is mainly geared towards like romantic relationships because that's the danger, right? You need to know who you're being with and who you're ready to give your life to because in all honesty, when you're going down that path and you're trying to figure out, who you want to spend the rest of your life with and you're miserable and drained all of the time, that's not for you. That's not the right relationship. And again, a lot of people think that there is kind of like a set list or there's one absolute combination of their ideal partner. We hear it all about it, the Dear Johns, so on and so forth. Like all of these dream people that will walk into their life and just be their perfect. That's not how that works. That's not how it works at all. If you get two people that are willing to learn how to coexist with each other, because again, that's all it is. You've been with yourself longer than anyone else on this planet, day and night, 24/7. You know yourself better than anyone else possibly could. So you know when things are affecting you and they're not. If you feel yourself getting toxic out of spite and you absolutely hated the behavior before, and yet you choose to justify those actions and actually follow through with them and become everything that you hate, then you lost. You are lost. That's rule numero uno that you are breaking as far as staying true to yourself. Because obviously you have no love for yourself if you're willing to fold your personality that quick. And obviously you're not meant to be in that relationship because you changed in a way that you did not feel fulfilled. So, with all of that being said, you are the only person that can be blamed for this, because we can treat it just like we would logically anything else. If somebody sticks their fingers in a garbage disposal, is it the garbage disposal's fault for doing what a garbage disposal does? Or is it the person's fault for sticking their finger in there? If you know what you're getting into, then nobody's at fault except for you. There's no reward for changing somebody in a toxic relationship other than freeing somebody from their own mind, their own toxic behaviors, and creating a better person of society that only you will enjoy. That's it. There's no monetary benefits. There's no prize. Nobody's going to cheer you on. Nobody's going to be happy for you. So all of this work that you're putting in is for you and your relationship, and that's it. There's no other accolades there. So it's your fault if you get into a toxic relationship, realize it's toxic, and stay in said relationship so long that you become toxic yourself. That's on you.
Sense.
Yeah. And I see
I don't know why I said it like that.
I see the logic of wanting to knee-jerk say it's both parties' fault, because obviously we don't want people to be toxic, but there's people out there that are just not going to change. No matter what you do, they're always going to believe that their shit don't stink, they're the queen or king of the world, and that's the end of it. And you either can manage time with them to be, to make it more let's say, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but to make it more manageable to be around, less toxic, so on and so forth. You figure out whatever you want, but the biggest takeaway that you should definitely have with any relationship should be a sense of, I learned a lot from this person, whether it's what I don't like or what I like. And understanding that if you see multiple things that you don't like, you don't stay. And again, that's what we're all navigating here. We're all navigating this really fucked up world that we live in, and we're trying to surround ourselves with people that make it a little less fucked up, something to look forward to, people that are willing to make your life better. Why are you trying to make life much harder for you by staying in these relationships that destroy you so much that you become just as toxic, if not worse? Do you guys have anything to add to that? Or any thoughts, rather?
You can't see it right now, but I'm nodding.
Thank you for the silent nod.
Welcome.
No, I was just trying to give somebody the opportunity to speak, but no, I agree, man. I mean, again, you can't allow somebody to change who you are as an individual, and it's tough because growth. Yes, it's growth. but then to change just to fit somebody else's life or what is gonna, benefit them as far as their day to day, and it not benefit yourself, and that's all they're worried about is me. What are you gonna do? I want you to change this for me because it would make it easier on me. It's like, okay, you got to make your partner happy, but at the end of the day, after so many me's, you got to realize that you're not the priority in that relationship. That person is. And if you allow that to change who you are, make you unhappy, eventually make them unhappy, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where you got, like you said, you got to have some strength, some will to do it probably in the best interest of both of you, even if it hurts.
Yeah. You got anything to add, Anime?
Yeah, I mean, not too much. I do agree, especially with what Davey just said. When you have will, but with also, the other person. So again, yeah, almost a full 100% agree with what Davey said. You have to make sure you're not toxic, or you have to give up the toxicity at some point in time. Within a romantical or with a romantic relationship, in order to grow. And when you break down and you give up your willpower and you become toxic yourself, it'll never change. At that point, you have just entered a repeating cycle of never-ending unhappiness.
The rabbit hole.
Okay.
So like,
Well, kind of bridging off of that a little bit. Is that really only romantic? Cuz I can think of
no,
a few other relationships where like all right, actually, let's get super progressive here, right? You actually, Anime, probably might appreciate this analogy or like this situation rather, but you've heard the term "you are who you hang out with," correct? Everyone here
I heard
familiar
the
with
term
that
"you
term?
are what you eat."
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean that is also true. But okay. So you are who you hang out with. I normally associated with like well, just that. Like you're guilty by association. So if your friends are doing dumb stuff and you're friends with them, then usually you're going to get roped in on that dumb stuff. But it also comes down to people change just by being around other people. Like ideals shift, things change. Most notably, right now in the climate that we're in, it wouldn't behoove you professionally or, probably even personally at this point to be around people that are openly hated, like displaying hatred towards ethnic groups or just people in general, because, that may not be what you're about. You might not like the fact that people are so hateful to other people for superficial reasons or whatnot. But if you hang out with a racist, what are you doing? Why are you entertaining that? If you're going to hang out with somebody who is hateful, you will become hateful. It's just a matter of time. Eventually, you'll be in on the joke. You'll say things ironically, not really mean them, but
That shit was tough.
what?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I say, yeah, that shit's tough.
Yeah, and I see a lot of excuses like, oh, they've been my best friends since, XYZ. I've known him for a really long time. Oh, he doesn't mean that, Oh, he's not really like that. And then you just sit there and
Oh,
kind of
that,
go like, uh-huh. Yeah. This,
that situation happened to me with my friend. My best friend since I was in like 3rd grade. Um, I came out to him, woohoo, good for me, and he said it was gross, so I considered dropping him and just ignoring him for that because he doesn't live here. He just comes here to visit when he stays with his grandparents. And then he came back and he was like, "Oh yeah, it was just a joke and I didn't mean it." But I don't really know how to take that as a joke.
It's not a joke. And like, all right. So that's toxic in and of itself, even if he's joking about that, because you said you came out to him, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do. A lot of people struggle with that, like with their parents, the people that have known them longer than anyone else on this planet, and probably know them, like would know you more intimately, and people still struggle with that because of their ideals. So, like, all right, to me, that shit's not funny. Like, I don't find those kind of remarks funny. I don't find those kind of jokes funny. Uh, Obviously, there's a time and place for me to be the white knight, but for the most part, if something's not funny, I let them know, like, hey, it's not really that funny. Let's not continue down this road because we're probably not going to like how this ends. But it's toxic in and of itself because that was a huge moment for you, and you chose to share that moment of, like, not really a lot of people know, and so on and so forth. These things are happening right now, and I trust you, and to take that trust and just kind of throw it out the window is rough. And don't discount that, because that is toxic. You want to surround yourself with people that would either embrace you, or, like, for me personally, again, I don't think that you would share the same sentiment, but even if I came out tomorrow and all of my friends were like, okay, big fucking deal, who gives a shit, you're gay, cool, anyway, even that would be what I would crave as acceptance, and I would want nothing less than that. But
Yeah, that's what happened with my mom.
cool, you're gay, anyway.
Yeah, she was just like, "Just be you."
It's your turn it's your turn to do dishes tonight. That's the kind of acceptance that I would want to see in that scenario. And again, I might be alone in that. I might be a nutcase as far as what I consider accepting or not. But
I mean, to me, any acceptance is acceptance.
yeah, exactly. And it, like, just kind of like taking it as, like, oh, it's really great that you know that you're going forward with this and you're exploring this, and stuff like that. That's okay, and that's fine. There's really nothing more in this world that you're going to crave, and that's certainly more supportive than toxic. However, when people joke about that kind of thing, when people joke about something that you take very seriously, is pretty toxic. And again, it can boil down to a whole slew of things, but the general consensus is that if you're doing this, if you're joking about things that are just super serious, you're being toxic. And it could be a romantic partner, it could be again, even anything, anything to do with anything that has any potential growth. I said anything like 5 times there. Anyway, it's just such a broad subject, and like toxicity shows itself all the time. And with that last statement, you guys have to think about temporary toxicity and how much it can ruin a relationship. Let me play a scenario for you. Or at least a little story, rather. I had a few friends in high school that stayed friends with me up until, we were out of high school for a little bit. They came over to my house to have a little party. We all turned 21 at the same time, and we all were just kind of chilling. We're drinking. We're having some fun. And one of the people that I was friends with for like a good amount of years, I spent a lot of time with him. they came over and they started hitting on my girlfriend at the time. And, you know, obviously I was like, guys, like, you know, we've been dating for like 2 years. Like, you know this. They're like, oh, that's high school stuff, man. I was like, okay, well, knock it off. She's uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Stop. Right there should have been the end, right? In a healthy relationship, I have no doubt that all three people in this call right now would have been like, okay, sorry. And or if not anything, wouldn't do that in the first place. But
Yeah.
in that moment, I had a temporary toxic moment where I was like, if everybody doesn't get out of my house right now, I'm going to actually fight somebody. And that's toxic because nobody else was responsible for their actions but those people, and nobody else there deserved that kind of punishment. But I was just so pissed off. I wasn't in a mood to have any parties. I wasn't in a mood to have any fun. I wanted to stay mad. I wanted to justify how angry I was, so on and so forth. So, you know, flash forward a few weeks later, they try to call me out on, you know, being a party pooper or a buzzkill. They as in the people trying to essentially steal my girl. And
And we don't vibe with that.
yeah, that was kind of like, it was a very sobering moment because you're like, you know, on one hand, you are who you hang out with, and these are the kind of people I don't want to be associated with. But, you know, I've known these people for like the better half of my life, and I do enjoy their company. And I guess that's really the balance, is if you're in a toxic, you know, environment, not even just a relationship, can you taper it so it's not contagious? Can you, you know, do as much as you can to enjoy their company, and then as soon as that it's reached that limit, you go, and that's it. Have a good one. Take care. Bye. You know, all of these questions that I had were kind of like rumbling in my head, and you know, it was a very sobering moment for me, and it opened my eyes to the possibility that maybe romantic relationships aren't the only place where toxic relationships exist. But I feel like everybody has that one friend that you can only really hang out with like maybe once a month, maybe once a week. And after you're around them, you feel like you have to justify being around them with words like, you know, they're just a lot of fun to hang out with. Or like, they're just a lot of fun to go to the bar. You know, I know they're ridiculous, but, you know, I have a lot of fun with them. Do we know anyone like that? Does anyone feel personally called out right now?
That was how my relationship was with my best friend.
Fair enough.
Me? I mean, I used to have people like that. Go ahead, B. I'm sorry.
Then again, he only came around every like 1 month, so it was kind of a forced thing to only hang out with him once a month. But I feel like that was better for both of us at the time.
Oh, I agree 1,000%, especially if he was joking about you coming out. But what were you saying, Davey?
No, I was just saying. I mean, I was just saying that I, you know, had friends like that previously, but I don't know that. I think I've separated myself since, because a lot of my friends were just like that. You know, kind of did their own thing, could be toxic. You know, I was the butt of a lot of jokes, and you know, I was kind of that person that they took for, you know, whether it was at the time, you know, it was a handsome young man back in the day, get some girls to come over, or it was, you know, to go and, you know, just somebody somewhere for them to come, because my mom let everybody come over and it just give them somewhere to hang out that wasn't their parents' house, so they wouldn't get told what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, for sure. I totally understand what you're saying, but, you know, at the same time, your mom endorsed that kind of relationship too, you know? Like
No, for sure.
And that's kind of even worse. Did she know, like, how you felt about him and, you know, kind of like how?
Yeah, but see, my thing was, because I was always kind of a loner. myself. Like I wasn't in my community being half black and half Mexican. One, where I moved and lived, there weren't a lot of Mexicans around.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of black kids around. Well, all the black kids wanted to be gangsters, and so my mom was like, "No, blah blah blah." So it was like, "What do you want me to do? Try to go hang out with all the white kids, which I'm fine with, but." Then when my mom seen me with around a couple of the black kids because I played sports, it would be like, yeah, y'all can. I remember one time specifically, one of the kids was like, "Hey, I want to come over," blah 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 blah. And I told my mom, because he was like, "Go ask your mom if I come over." And I was like, "Mom, he's finna ask if he can come over." No. Like I don't. And she was like, "Don't be like that, blah, 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 blah. Like he wants to come over and hang out and spend time with you. Y'all are friends." I'm like, "We play sports together. That don't mean that we're friends."
Yeah.
And so, long story short, the kid came up, asked, they said yes. I'm like, "Bruh, he wants to supposedly come hang out with me. If I don't want to hang out, why are y'all allowing this?" But then, stuff would go on. Eventually, she would see them, now as we got older, gang banging, selling drugs, some with a couple bullets in their back. And it's like, this is what you wanted me to hang around with because I didn't have many friends that looked like me. And now you see, like, as time progressed, why I was so opposed to doing something. And again, they were toxic as friends, but my mom kind of was toxic in the sense of pushing something upon me that I wasn't comfortable with that she had to later on see the results of.
All right. Anime, you got anything to add? Or B?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Give us the stories. Yeah.
So basically, with me, yeah, I had someone literally that I once called a brother. 100% flip on me. At first, yeah, he was there. He did a whole lot of incredible things to help and be there for me, and he was literally like my miniature me. He was exactly me, how it was a few years prior at the time. And so we hung out. We did everything together, except for I knew from the get go there was a big difference. He was like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big dude. He was a little bit shorter than me, but weight and strength wise, he was right there with me. It was like we would literally both used to say if we were to fight, someone's going to a hospital and someone's going to a morgue.
Huh.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Basically, like the moral of that part was we would fight for hours before it would be over because like that's how we were. We were so close. But when I got with my current relationship now and like my romantic relationship with my fiance, she was pushing me to do better. She's like, "Hey, you can do this, this, and this, and this will be the outcome. It's rewarding. It's a rewarding outcome. It'll be beneficial to you. It'll be beneficial to your son. It'll be it'll benefit not just you but a lot of your surroundings." And so when I did those, he turned toxic and like I would say became like an abusive friend. Started physically hitting me, threatening me, and when I had enough and I ended the friendship, he came knocking on my door,
What
like
did he.
pounding on my door.
Why?
Huh? With more threats.
He claimed he wanted to talk, but my stepsister went to the door and answered it originally. And where he was standing, she noticed something in his left hand and shut the door. He was there to beat my ass after that.
Oh?
You think I was sick that day and didn't get out of bed? Yeah, like he literally came up to my window and started like beating on the window, claiming he just wanted to talk. He just wanted to talk. But I knew from the get go, right then and there, as soon as if he really was I knew personally if he wanted the best for me, he would have been like, all right, thank you for the good times that we've had. If we reconjoin later in life, I'll be happy to do so or something. Or I'm like, all right, well, I hope you have a good life. Thank you for bringing happiness or something. At least that's what I would do. I wouldn't show up at someone's doorstep like Slay. If he told me I don't want to talk to you anymore, um, you bring a toxic environment to me, I would respect your opinion and leave it as that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't find your damn address and go to your house and start pounding on the door.
And see, maybe this is my toxic trait, but I would want to know why.
That I am the same way, and he did ask why, and I did give him the exact reason, and that's when he showed up at my door.
Do we know what he had in his hand?
Oh yeah, he had a metal pipe.
Oh. It's not.
I'm 6'4". He was 6'1", 6'2". He was literally, he didn't look like me, but mentality-wise, he was a carbon copy of me. Whenever I was in my, I hate the fucking world, I'm gonna do what I want and destroy what I want. So, he was in that phase, and I wasn't.
Well, I mean, you grew, right?
Mm-hmm. I grew out of that phase, you know, and I was trying to help him do the same, and he was starting to for a while until those events. I do not know what he does. But last I knew, he was working. I have one mutual friend between him, but we don't talk about him. I give the respect of I don't talk crap about someone if I'm not friends with them, because that's just not the right thing to do. Like, example, Slay, we had a falling out, but we both stayed friends with Davey. I would not say a single thing about you to Davey. I would ask Davey, like, hey, can we just talk at separate times? Or can we hang out or play games at separate times? And I'd leave it at that.
And
would you find that as toxic behavior?
No. No, I wouldn't. Davey.
No.
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Would you
You
see?
didn't hear a single thing.
No, I thought he was asking. I thought he was asking Slay specifically, so that's why I didn't say anything.
No, I
I
said.
was asking everybody as a whole.
Oh no, me, I don't view that as toxic, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bumpy. I think people have used the word toxic so much that it's like a slippery slope, because a lot of times people view someone leaving a situation or separating themselves as being toxic or giving up on them or not being a real friend, and so you in turn try to make that person seem like a toxic or bad person, when it's just them realizing, if I stay in this situation, it's not going to be good, whether it's verbal, physical, mental, whatever the hell it is. It's just like, no, I have to do what's beneficial for me and probably for both of us. You just don't see it that way because you want it to, again, to be a certain way.
Right.
But
So I mean, that is a example from my life. I have plenty, but I know we do not have the time for that.
Well, with
I
that.
agree with that.
Sorry.
I agree with the statement of people use the word toxic so much that most people don't understand the meaning of it anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at, though, as a society, is that a lot of people feel like they have to use these very, very, well, I hate to say it, but use buzzwords to get the appropriate reaction that they want out of them. Because when you hear the word toxic, you're thinking about, the situation where Anime had somebody show up to his house with a metal pipe after telling him that he doesn't want to be around him anymore because he's too toxic. Like, you think of that kind of scenario, but when you hear about the quote unquote toxic behavior, obviously you then start to feel resentment as far as like, okay, that's not really toxic. Uh, which actually kind of like brings me to the last point that I really had, and that was, if you feel like you are in a relationship that you can't communicate your true feelings to because you can't predict their actions, and you're constantly on your back foot with excuses as to why you should be justified in your anger, your upsetness, what have you. Do you find yourself kind of looking to see about a way out? Are you looking for reasons to kind of like move on? What is your go-to when you start to kind of feel like this relationship is either becoming toxic or is toxic? What's your kind of go-to method for dealing with it?
Pick a person.
So like
Who
just
you
call
want?
on someone. Just
Yeah,
call
Oh.
on
you're gonna have to
wanna
call
go
on.
first.
Yeah.
Okay, you're all too polite. Anyway, let's start with anime this time.
All right. My initial reaction is I want to snip it. Excuse my language. I want to snip it in the ass. I would like to address the issue, address where the problem is starting at, and try to fix it from there. Whether or not you can fix it and create a non-toxic environment, or if it gets any worse, leave the situation. Whether it's breaking up with an individual that you were in a romantic relationship with, telling someone you don't want to talk to them anymore, cutting somebody from your life, um, just many different things. My initial reaction would always be, what can I do to fix the situation? What can be done to where some of these outcomes don't have to happen, and you can stay in the romantic relationship, the friendship relationship, the parental relationship, and that's generally what I try to do. But then that can sometimes lead to even more toxicity because you keep giving them chances and you don't actually leave.
All right, B, you got anything to follow up with?
Not really.
Pretty much hit it on the head.
Yep.
Davey, anything else?
I mean, for me, it's subjective. As far as whether it's romantic relationship, parental, or friends. Like with me, with my family, like it's always tougher for me to leave a situation or to not respond the way I would, because it's family, and it's like I want to give you as many chances as I can, but I can't be around it. So, for example, when it comes to my dad, like he's cheated in the past on my mother, and it's like at this point in my life, like I love him, but I have to look at him more as a homie, and for all my friends, even my close friends, they're like me, really. Like we don't talk 6, 8 months in a row, and then we talk, and it's like we've been talking the whole time, and it's kind of like that with my dad because it's like if I'm around you all the time and you're still doing this shit, like I'm gonna want to do something, or I'm gonna get mad, I'm gonna get frustrated, you know. When it comes to friends, it's like you get one warning. And it's like if I don't like it, I'll just ghost you. After that second time that you do it, and I've already gave you the warning, like we just won't kick it no more. And I don't hang out with people a lot anyway, so it's not really gonna stress me out. Uh, Relationships different just because I had this unrealistic expectation, in my opinion, that it's just gonna be perfect. You're never gonna fight. It's just gonna be so easy to be with somebody that you love, and it's just like I had to come to a realization that you actually have to put work in. Everybody's not perfect. You know, uh, yeah, man. I wanted to kind of talk about it earlier, but I'll just go over it briefly. I think a lot of parents have a part in building toxic people because we have this unrealistic thing where we tell our kids like, oh, you can be with this person. You won't have to, when you find the right person, you won't have to change. You're perfect the way you are. But it's not. That's not the actual case. There's like it's not very often that you hear that the parents are like, yeah, you fucked up in this relationship or you did this wrong. It's always it's okay. You'll find somebody better or they just weren't the one and they don't make you be accountable for anything and that's why everybody's so entitled or whatever that they really believe that they're perfect. But yeah.
I definitely agree that parents, the ball is in their court to produce good humans, as my wife would lovingly put it. And being a decent human, I guess, is actually subjective because it really it really means how far does somebody need to go to be a decent human. How far do we have to go in order to be the person that we want to be, and what do we need to do for that to even to happen?
Right.
So what we really should be talking about right now is how everyone in this call deals with their own toxic traits. Uh, how does everyone here overcame something that they know is toxic? Did anybody in this call have anything pointed out that you go, I didn't realize that was even toxic? I see their point of view and, I want to work on that. At least express my intentions with a certain action so it doesn't come across as toxic, but still might be toxic in other people's eyes. Anything like that, B?
I can't think of any personal experiences now.
Fair enough. What about you, Davey?
Me, yeah, man. I think people in past relationships have made me toxic in a uniquer way. Not that I'm special. It's just like me. Because I'm like with my parents' relationship. And I draw a lot of my who I am from that in a relationship. It's like my mom was always checking my dad's phone, looking at call logs, all that. And me, even my it's still here. It's like I don't give a fuck. Whatever you do, like you cheat, you do whatever. I find out it's over. But I don't care about whatever you're doing. I don't like if we don't talk all day. No offense, I still love you, but like you could be working, you can be at the lake. I'm not gonna bother you. Hit me up when you get some time. Other than that, I don't care. And so my girlfriend was like, it just doesn't make. I don't feel like you care, like, And it's like, no, I care about you, but I mean, I'm not gonna like you're an adult. I don't care. Like, do whatever you're doing. We can talk when you get home. We can talk, you know, just whenever you got some time. If you're at work, I'm not bothering you. If you're hanging out with friends, I'm not bothering you. I just don't care. And so, I mean, that's one of them that I know of. The other one is that like I was real big on like once I moved out, all that telling me what to do shit is not gonna fly. Like and even if it wasn't telling me what to do, it was like giving me your opinion on like, hey, this kind of makes me feel a little uncomfortable, blah blah blah. And to me, I'm just like, bruh, I was 18. I got out, I moved out of my parents' house. Like you're not gonna give me rules after I just got done leaving rules. Like that's what we're not doing. So you can leave. Like if you don't like it, it's up to you. And I think that's toxic because at the end of the day, you do have to take your partner's feelings and stuff into consideration. It's something I'm dealing with, still to this day. Like it's still hard for me because I'm like, bro, you're not gonna tell me shit. I'm a grown ass man. I'm almost 30. You're not telling me what to do. But I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to understand her point of view on everything and be better about it because I mean, there is some things, yeah, it would make me uncomfortable, like cheating, right? If I didn't find out, I probably wouldn't care, like, but knowing would obviously hurt me. So I try to show interest. I try to let her feel or let her know that her presence matters and different things like that. It's just a little difficult at times to because I'm still working on it. But yeah, those are the two that I can, without a doubt, say that I'm working on.
All right, Anime. Anything that you feel that you do is pretty toxic to your partner or to your friends? Anything like that at all?
I mean, when it comes to friends, I can say this. I push things to the limits without really realizing it. I'll joke in certain, like, to me, I'm joking in certain matters, but some friends don't really realize it. Whether it's, making some smart remarks, whether it's comes out to be like, as the term would be, like, oh well, hey, like, that's kind of gay or something like that, or whether it's just pushing the bounds. Yeah, I have done that with friends, and I've come to find out as soon as they snip it, I never go anywhere near that mark. So I mean, to me, it's kind of like one of my toxic traits is I push things to the limit to see how far they'll go, and then once I find that limit, I won't go near it. But relationship wise, well, I found this out in my now relationship. Yeah, one of my biggest ones is I kind of just shut down, and I won't open myself up to talk about issues or certain circumstances because when I had tried to before, my voice was silenced. So now I automatically silence my voice before anyone can do it for me. Obviously, from probably you guys experiencing and hanging out and speaking with me, you're probably questioning that and going, well, from what we've encountered, no. That's just because I've been working on it for quite some time, and it has gotten a lot better. But and then I don't know. I let I overthink a lot, and I let that control how I feel sometimes in some actions that I do, and I shouldn't. And I do realize that it comes to a point where it's like, hey, whether it's right or wrong, no matter what. If you're overthinking, if you have anxiety, um, you can't blame that. It doesn't justify what you did. You know what you did was wrong, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, and I agree entirely. It's actually really funny because I'm hearing a common toxic kind of pattern here with us guys is we all shut down. We all kind of go, silent when shit hits the fan because we're so used to not having a voice or not having something that can be productively added. It's always something like, oh, if I bitch about this, then I'll be viewed a certain way by my partner. And I mean, what to me I feel is toxic is no matter how many times I try to not really think about it or, really try to overcome it, I still feel the pressure of being the man of the house or being somebody who is everyone's rock emotionally, physically, what have you. I know that this isn't the way that my wife views me, and I know this isn't the way that my kids, kind of look to me as, mainly because they're a little young right now. But I mean, even when they get older, I would hope that they become a lot more independent and not really need a quote unquote man of the house. So that's one of the biggest issues I have, among absolutely shutting down and not wanting to partake in any conversation or anything to do with my emotions, because not only to me are they scary, but I don't view them as productive most of the time because I feel like the way that I feel in a situation might actually breed more conflict, or it might just go poorly overall if I go, well, I feel this way about it. I have been getting better, and definitely having my wife there to kind of help me be better in that situation is obviously helpful, but I don't think I'd be able to do that in a toxic relationship. I don't think I would be the man I am today talking to you guys about this sort of thing, because in all honesty, there are a lot of there's a lot of content and a lot of people that want men to feel scared and want men to blame someone other than themselves because that's what they do and they became successful at it. So, not to not to kind of beat a dead horse here, but toxicity shows itself in every relationship in the weirdest ways. And the weirdest way for me is bringing out toxic behavior that I'd never displayed before in my life. It wasn't until I got married that I realized that I could be as frustrated as I was with one person. And, I never thought that I would ever lose patience as quickly as I was in the beginning of the relationship. And it was because I was trying to deal with her the same way I would deal with friends. And, obviously, each relationship is different. You might be able to do that with some girls, but you can't do it with all of them. And, I found out that the way that I solve issues with my wife was toxic. And it was not good for our relationship. And no, I didn't just beat her up if I disagreed or anything like that. It was more subtle in the fact that if, I had a problem with a friend, I could just bring it up and that would be the end of it. I hated it when my wife would turn it into a discussion, because it was more like, if you asked me to stop what I was doing in this instance, there would be no discussion. It would just be, I need to change that. I need to do better in that regard. And I've always expected that out of people, is what I would do to you, I would hope that you would do for me, because that's what's right. But, as we know, that's not always the case. And it never will ever be the case fully. There's not ever going to be just one person that will absolutely bend to your whim every single time you ask. But, I digress. The biggest question of the night will be asked in the form of, how did you combat your own toxic behaviors? And do you feel like now that you have combated your toxic behaviors, do you feel like you are in a little bit more better of a position, like a position of authority, to comment on other people's toxicity and see if you could solve it from there? Davey.
I'll say I've gotten better, but I don't know that I comment on other people's, just because I know that it takes growth, like personal growth. Like you can tell, I mean, people for years have, I'm sure, have told all of us at one point, something that would have been beneficial and that we didn't listen to until we were ready. So it's kind of like I just got to let this person do it unless they seek that kind of guidance. But other than that, I mean, I try to stay out of it just because I know it can ruin a relationship with a friend. And maybe that's toxic on my part because I'm not being a real friend, as some people might say. But it's like, bro, you're not going to hear it. You're not going to want to listen to it until you're ready to do it. I think that, like, people with their kids, people who have kids and who have a relationship, and it's like, bro, you're still out here wilding, but you have a daughter, you have a son, and you're showing them how to be this way, but you're not living it. You're gonna try to tell your daughter she's a queen, but you're cheating on her mom. You're doing this, you're doing that, and it's like you're not gonna stop until you want to, or until you're gonna meet somebody that you really love, and they cheat on you, and it's gonna break your heart. But it's one of those things that we sadly have to go through and learn on our own. But yeah, that's me. That's my opinion, anyways.
Anime? Anything?
I mean, yeah, I've personally seen that. I've grown in a lot of my toxic behavior, but I feel as if I do not have the right to comment on somebody else's. I mean, if they come to me and they want to start the conversation about it, and they want to talk about it, I'll give them my opinion, but I'll also clarify to them. I'll be like, again, I do not have like the proper authority to be able to comment and influence your mind because I have done such, I've done toxic behaviors myself. So, I mean, like, I have quite a few friends that are in some toxic relationships, and I don't say anything because I feel as if I do not have the right to, even though, yeah, as what Davey said, say, oh, well, you're not a true friend. Well, a true friend won't give an opinion when it's not wanted. That's how I see that.
Okay. Well, B, got anything else to add?
Yeah, hang on. Let me switch over to my phone real quick.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you two hear me bitching and complaining all day about something, call me out.
I don't really have too much to add, but I do have a bit to add because I've only been told that I have one toxic trait, which I still have. I just cut people off a lot and like annoy them for some reason.
All right. What are you doing to combat it then?
Usually I just try and shut my mouth.
Okay. Fair enough. Is there anything else that you can think of that might be beneficial for the other people to kind of do to talk to you about it, or you don't want to be approached about it?
Maybe just remind me that I cut them off and that they were speaking.
Okay.
To comment on that, B, I do think we were an instant like that came up earlier.
Yeah, with Sammy.
With Sammy, and how I took that is I was not rude about it, and I was like, I said, I heard you, B, but then I said, what did you say back to Sammy? So the comment there, but not another thing, and I know this is like totally hypocritical about what I just said, but just for maybe like a word to the wise, because I do know you are also younger. A lot of that stuff will change with age, with time, because you grow wiser and you realize a lot of things. I was once like that as well. I will straight up admit it. I would raise my voice. I would overpower any and everybody, and I would piss everybody off and annoy everybody. So I can admit, I was once like that too. And so as someone who was once like that, it does change with age.
Okay. I agree. But I would like to kind of comment on something. Again, maybe this might be a little personal or a little tailored to me, but I'm going to call you out 100% of the time if you're being toxic. I don't care if it's my place or not, and you're allowed to feel however you feel towards me afterwards. However, to put it very plainly, and I guess this is really going to sum up my true attitude towards toxic behaviors, especially if they're learned. I was not put on this planet to deal with your bullshit. That's the end of the day. I'm not here to placate to you, and I'm not here to make you feel good about yourself or whatever. I might choose to, and I will always choose to. I always want to see people smile. But if you're being toxic and it's harmful to a lot of people, I'm going to call you out on it. And again, it's always going to be in the avenue of I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and assuming that you're looking to be better. So it's always going to be like, hey, listen, I'm not really a fan of what you do here, but here, I've either known people that have done this or I've done this myself. Here's what I did to be better. And that really will dictate how that outcome goes. And that's, to me, that is more important than really anything else. It's more important to me for you to understand that something you're doing is wrong. Absolutely wrong. 1,000% wrong. And you need to fix it if you want to be better. But again, it all comes down to what your goals are, what your personal goals are, what your immediate goals, your long-term, whatever, of where you want to be as a person, for you to take my advice and roll with it, or for you to go, meh, I don't give a fuck. I don't think I'm being toxic, and then leave it at that. It really comes down to you as a person, and honestly, it's more telling if you take that information and roll with it, understand what you're doing, and try to be better. It's more telling. This is how I know we're in a healthy relationship. We're looking for that growth from person to person, because again, that's all relationships are. Is we're all here to grow. We're all here to be better. But I'm also not going to sit here and placate to you and say, "Oh, ha ha ha, you're quirky, ha ha." In B's case, right? Like, if I felt like B, you were just talking over everybody, cutting everyone off, being an asshole, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, "Ha ha ha, yeah, oh B, oh look at B, she's just being B."
Little B.
Yeah, the little B. No, it's gonna be like, B, hey, listen, you're cutting a lot of people off. If you feel like you need to say something, like, wait until there's a pause and say, like, hey, really quick, I wanted to add, and then go from there. And then,
Yep.
the third time it happens is when, I go, B, shut the fuck up. And it's just, where I feel like we're at that level of friendship. Well, you will understand that that's an escalation, no doubt, but it's more or less a, like, hey, it's getting on my nerves. I guarantee you it's getting on a few other people's nerves. Relax, calm. But the biggest proponent to realizing you're in a toxic relationship is that lack of growth. And if you are patient enough to realize that you are doing things wrong, you're not perfect, you never will be perfect, and you try to grow from it, that's really all that matters. Mainly because in the day and age that we're in now, you need to understand that a lot of things that you do are going to be accepted in some groups and not accepted in others. Like, again, there's a group of people out there that wholeheartedly believe that you should cheat on your significant other because it'll enhance your relationship with that said significant other. Most of the world will agree that that's horseshit. But there's a select few group of people that do that. So, whatever behaviors that you have options. You can either surround yourself with people that are just as toxic or just as hateful as you, or you can try to get better. The obvious answer, the right answer, everyone here, because I hope you don't just surround yourself with people that are assholes and go from there. But either way, there's multiple answers to every question known to mankind. And it's up to you to navigate those answers and to really formulate what works best for you, what works best for everybody involved, stupid things like that. But, with all of that being said, do you guys feel like it's better to surround yourself with like-minded people, or is it better to surround yourself with people that aren't like-minded in an attempt to kind of broaden your horizons? Davey, I haven't heard you speak in like an hour. What do you got in mind?
I think it just depends. It depends on the person that you're trying to be. Depends on the improvements you're trying to make. I personally try to surround myself with people of like minds, but that are trying to be what I uh, aspire to be in a sense. And that's a faithful person in a relationship, an ambitious person when it comes to just whether it be trying to get more money or trying to do other travel, trying to just do things that are progressive that'll benefit you. I don't hear that from a lot of people. And so like a lot of times like my people that aren't trying to progress, I don't try to hang around them. It's not to disrespect them, it's not to say that they're lesser than, but it's like if you're not trying to improve, you're just stuck. So, some people do feel like I'm not trying to surround myself with people that'll be real with me. And it's like, yeah, you're real, but I got to see people that walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So, that's my thing.
Yeah, your definition of real also can be taken in a few different ways as well, because a lot of people consider their friends the real ones that go, "Oh my God, yeah, that dress doesn't make you look fat at all," or "Yeah, you were totally nice to that person," when both of those things aren't true. I don't
Sure.
consider those people real. I consider those people placaters. So, again,
I would agree for sure. And that's like the tough part is because, people will lie to you and they'll tell you what you want to hear. And that's not necessarily, in my opinion, something that's going to benefit you. And, yeah, those people are the people that are going to agree with you, tell you everything you want to hear. There's people that are doing better, whether it be in a relationship or financially, that are going to tell you, no, you're doing this wrong. Or no, that's not okay. You need to do it this way. And you have to be willing to be open to hear those things. But yeah, I'll let somebody else go. I apologize.
I
anyone else?
apologize. What was the
Yeah.
question?
Well, it wasn't really a question. It was more or less kind of like a continuation of a statement of just overall, like, the difference between placating and, in my opinion, being a true friend, not lying to people in an effort to, well, out of an assumption that they're trying to be better themselves.
I'm sorry, you just like completely turned into a robot for me.
Anyway, all right. So, what I was saying was,
That's better.
what I was saying was, is it better to surround yourself with people that are going to placate you, or surround yourself with people that assume that you want to be better in almost every regard? So they tell you the things that you're objectively doing wrong, or the things that they view as not very nice, not very,
Okay.
yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Right. So, I agree with the second option. I feel like it would be better to, surround yourself with people who think you want to do better and will call out the stuff. To give an example, you Slay, you called me out on something during the last podcast, and it kind of like it sat with me since Friday, and this is now Thursday. It's almost been a week. It sat with me, and I pondered on it every single day, and I appreciate you calling out what my toxic behavior, well, I would call it toxic, well, self-hate behavior was at that moment.
Which is
And
toxic, but yes.
yes, which is toxic. So it's a toxic trait, but
Yeah.
it goes along with lines of yourself. But when people see that, they might not want to talk to you because they know, oh, hey, this person does da 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 da.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I feel like it's definitely 100% better to surround yourself with people who automatically assume that you want to better yourself, because of that way, no matter what, you're going to be growing. Because if you do something and they call it out, they go, hey, this wasn't the best idea to do. You know, here's an idea to do this, or maybe you can do this. You're you're getting more opportunities that way than what you would anything else. More or any, but well, let me rephrase that. You're getting better opportunities than you would with people who just go, "Oh yeah, you're fine, you're okay."
Yeah, I might not agree like wholeheartedly with Jordan Peterson, but he does say something that just absolutely, I never thought of it that way. But when you tell people that are like super young that, yeah, you're perfect the way that you are, you're really not, especially when you're young, because you're young, naive. You know, you haven't experienced life. You haven't been through hell. You haven't really had any real hardship yet that would shape you into a better person. So when you kind of walk through life, when you're trying to walk through life and everybody around you is like, you're perfect the way that you are, but you feel unsatisfied with where you're at and, kind of how things are going, that should be super telling. That should be, no, I'm absolutely not happy with who I am. I want to change that. I want to be a better person. I want to do more things. B, how do you feel when somebody says, you're perfect the way that you are? I wouldn't change you for anything.
I would just disagree politely.
No, I'm a fucking mess. What? I am not perfect.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, damn. I thought there was going to be more substance there, but all right. With that being said, though, none of us here are exactly like old men or women. We're all pretty young. So,
Nah, I'm old as fuck.
bitch, I'm a year older than you.
Mentally, I am ancient.
Yeah, that's how I feel constantly.
This is one of those moments where you tell a friend so you're not toxic. I don't like to be where, to me, I call other people bitches. I don't call people bitches to their face. But no, you're fine. It's a joke. Yeah, like I'll call like I don't for some reason, and it's bad, and I'm gonna own this live on air. I don't call men bitches, or I don't call anyone a bitch to their face, and I don't call men bitches behind their backs. Yes, I'm terrible, and that may be toxic. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Well, thank you for letting me know that you don't like that word. I will immediately strike it from my vocabulary.
Yeah, my
Wait, you don't
brothers and
like
them
that
play.
word?
No, like you can use it. You just can't call me that. Like I won't play and say like pussy, like, and I know that's strong language, but yeah, I
I
won't
got
call
you.
anybody like bitch, pussy, like I'll say like dumbass, jackass. That's cool, but like the other shit, I maybe because my dad used it so much growing up, or like to emasculate us, and I don't want to get on that whole bullshit. That's probably another topic for another day.
Oh, I
But yeah,
mean,
I just
all right.
personally don't call other men that.
Listen, Davey,
All right.
that ain't bullshit, and I really appreciate you telling me that.
That is
No, that's not.
respect.
Yeah, because that's something that I've always used playfully. I've
Right.
never,
Same
never,
here.
No.
yeah.
Right, right.
If I'm like seriously trying to emasculate somebody, I'll just be physical with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
words to me cannot emasculate anybody unless they're threatening. But
Right.
again, my experience is completely different. But see, this
Yeah.
is also the part of the podcast where we should go see what a healthy relationship looks like. You see this? This is growth. This is character development.
This is a toxic relationship, friendship, working on growing. But no, I get it. You know, it's just like we come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
That was like those words were the ones that like, hey, you gotta fight him now. You know that, right? Like, and he just called you a bitch, pussy, even if he's playing or not. Everybody gonna think you are unless you defend yourself, and that's usually came with those black friends. You know what I'm saying? But
I got you.
all my white homies didn't care. Like y'all be chilling.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I've grown to hate it now. Like my brothers do that. Like him and his best friends will have a conversation for 30 minutes, and that's all you hear. Shut up, bitch. Shut up, pussy. Shut up, bitch. No, fuck you, bitch. Shut up, pussy. I'm like, bruh.
yeah, and that obviously with repetition, it becomes very irritating. But
Yes.
like, I might say it in like a one-off thing, like
Right.
you know,
No, I know you knew. I know you didn't mean nothing by it, bro.
Yeah.
I'm already knowing. You know it's love over here.
well now I just feel like I gotta justify it now.
No, you got to.
I gotta
Justification.
yeah I gotta justify why it's okay to call people names.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, in all seriousness though, it's really like toxicity is to me the best way to define toxicity, right? You, Davey, you could sit here and call me that B word every single, like every time that we have a little spat or like we're complimenting or, doing something to each other. You could say that word and it would absolutely roll off the back of my shoulder. Therefore, I won't consider it toxic because it's not making my life any harder.
Mhm.
However, for you, it triggers that kind of like lizard part of your brain that's like,
Yes.
I need to be more forward now. I need to defend. I have
My honor.
well, not just your honor, just I have to defend my masculinity at this point. It's being threatened by somebody thinking that they can get away with being derogatory or being inappropriate.
I'm someone that's bigger than me.
Yes. Exactly. And I I don't view it as threatening for probably a multitude of reasons. One, I am a bigger gentleman and I'm very comfortable in physical altercations due to not only my training but experience. But a lot of people don't walk through life the same way that I do, knowing that I could destroy things but don't. I feel like, all right, I know I said I don't agree with Jordan Peterson a lot, but there's another point that I agree with him. And a harmless person is not a good person. A harmless person is just that. They're harmless. They can't do really anything to anybody anyway. So again, that doesn't innately make them harmless, or excuse me, make them good because they're harmless. And Jordan Peterson say that, and I agree wholeheartedly. If you want to be considered a good person, you should be capable of very, very dangerous, almost borderline evil things, and make a decision every single day to not do those evil things. Because that, like, think of the story of Superman, right? Everybody has that scenario either in the back of their mind or they discuss it in the forwardness of their mind. But if Superman was evil, what would we do to stop him? And we define...
Kryptonite!
Oh, Batman. Joking. Sorry.
Well, I mean,
Kryptonite.
yes, you have to exploit a weakness, but my point is that you and I run into Superman and he's feeling particularly rowdy, we're done. It's over. But he makes that choice day in and day out to not go down that path. He's capable of destroying planets, yet he chooses to defend it. And that's what makes him a good character. That's what makes him a superhero. A hero in general, but a superhero in comics. So, again, maybe it is my toxic trait that I look at people differently in the sense that, they're either brilliant to the point where they could kind of tear somebody apart verbally or like mentally and choose not to day in and day out, you know, somebody playfully saying something ignorant and them not jumping on the opportunity to educate them would make them a better person in my mind, less toxic, you know, even dare to say like humbled with their knowledge versus feeling it necessary to correct every single little thing that's being said. That to me would make them a better person than if, you know, they were just as ignorant as the rest of us and, you know, knew that one particular thing was wrong and chose to correct it. It's just, I guess it's like the difference in train of thought, right? Being an absolute monster and controlling yourself every time that you set foot outside would make you innately a better person because you're choosing not to be that kind of guy. You're choosing to be a lovable person versus not being capable of it at all and not making a choice, just kind of existing.
No, I agree. Because we see that a lot, like even with people who are, um, kind of like that whole he was a punk in high school, now he's got a badge and a gun.
Yes.
Those things where people are powerless and then they gain power, and then you see how they would act once they have it.
Yep.
But that's just a quick little tidbit.
I mean, even in that scenario too, right? Let's flip the script a little bit. And he was a punk in high school, but after he got the badge and gun, he became this totally different person. He started choosing to use his powers to defend rather than attack.
Right.
You would look at that person as you've grown a lot into a really good person.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, I guess because you don't necessarily know what they were before because they were kind of the weaker or just in that position where they didn't have much of a choice of what to do. Like they couldn't impose their will on people. So you don't know if he was good or bad unless you really knew the person. But then you see what they did with the power. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And again, that really works with romantic relationships with people that are pursuing somebody. Like, what's that quintessential thing that guys always get yelled at for? Being the nice guy, right? Like, being that guy that's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Simps. Oh, you're the only girl for me. You're so beautiful. Constantly.
Oh my God, Slay, you are gorgeous, daddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my
and then
ex-girlfriend broke up with me for that.
You were a simp for her?
I was just a nice guy. She wanted me to be more mean or more aggressive.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't that. Seeing an abusive relationship, I was just, and not seeing my mom get any compliments, I guess that made me into a simp. Because it was like, well, I want to do the opposite. And my ex didn't like that.
Ooh, XX. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I felt that. That's kind of how I am. I grew up, near plenty of toxic relationships, so I was always like, I want to prioritize their feelings and what they want to do before anything with me. And I always want to compliment them, even make like little kitty names, call them like babe, honey, or, if you want to get cheesier, my honey nut Cheerios because you're good for my heart, or just some shit. Like, that's what I call my fiance. I call her my honey nut Cheerios.
That's cute.
Adorable.
She's good for my heart.
That is literally so adorable.
But you want to know what she calls me?
What?
Idiot.
Can't confirm.
That's so mean.
That's just how that goes. So, I've kind of got used to it. Like, today she called me babe today. I was like, whoa, are you feeling okay? It's like, she doesn't do it to be mean. It's just like, she's explained it as, you know, or even like when giving compliments, she doesn't like to call me handsome because she says, oh, well, when I call someone handsome or little kitty names, I think of my nephews, such as, well, and the word calling handsome, she thinks of her nephew, and then like little kitty names, she just she's not comfortable with it. Because let me be honest here, I am my fiance's very first relationship. She made a bad choice for first. But, so, there's that.
All right. Well, I lost my train of thought.
So did I. Like, I'm sitting here kind of questioning, like, wait, where did that even come from?
Well, oh, okay. Well, the original point that I was trying to make is typically with nice guys, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that
Now I remember.
that kind of brag about not being able to even physically or emotionally abuse a girl because, you know, they're just not capable of it. Or you should love me because, you know, I only bench press 50 pounds. Yeah, that's not really desirable to the other side, kind of like biologically speaking, because, I mean, we're all still
Right.
animals. We all still have that innate, like, you know, if the apocalypse happened and we had to revert, could my man hunt? Could my man fend off wild zombies? Or could my
Shit,
woman?
patience. My fiance knows that good.
Well,
She doesn't like she doesn't like me talking about it because sometimes I get like wild with it.
but again, that's the whole, you know, the whole thought process, the whole, you know, the whole system of is my significant other dangerous but a good person, or is my significant other just incapable of anything violent? Is he just a safe person, a harmless person? Anyway, I really pose that question to you guys. Would you rather be harmless, or would you rather be, you know, a monster but able to make decisions that would make you a good person day in and day out?
I'd rather be a monster.
Everybody knows I'm a motherfucking monster.
I
You like to be a pretty monster.
You are a pretty monster.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking simp. Simp.
I don't know. Slay. I was gonna make this comment. Well, actually, no. My apologies.
Get your hand out the
B,
cradle.
you go ahead and say what you were gonna say because I know you were about to say something.
B.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
No? You don't
No.
you don't want to be harmless or a monster?
Oh, I said I don't. I just don't want to be hated.
I mean, yeah, I feel like nobody really wants to be hated other than the fucking Joker. But
Sometimes I do.
I don't want to be seen as someone who tries to hurt other people's feelings, but I also don't want to be seen as the person who is so gullible that you can do anything to them.
Do you mind if I put that in some like different terms? That might
No, go
make
ahead.
it sound better for you. You
Thank
don't want to
you.
be predator, but you don't want to be prey.
Exactly.
that's a very interesting parallel. You don't want to be the predator, but you don't want to be the prey either.
Exactly.
Kind of just want to float.
You
Okay.
just want to be left the fuck alone. I get it.
Yep.
All right, I don't. Here's why. If you don't want to be prey, then you have to become a predator. And again, this harbors back to the whole point that most of us in this call could be defined as predators, but we make the constant decision to not be a predator. But I understand what you're saying, that you don't want to be, weak-minded, weak-willed, but you also don't want to have the power because maybe you're afraid of abusing it. Maybe, you're afraid that it'll be used against you, or you're afraid that you'll be challenged more, which I will tell you the latter happens a lot. But, in all seriousness, what you're describing is exactly what the rest of us are. Is just because we're capable of feats of great destruction doesn't mean that we want to do feats of great destruction.
How old are you again, if you don't mind my asking?
Are you still streaming?
Yes.
I'll just type it in the chat then.
Okay, bet.
I would say in Spanish, but it's like
No,
That
it's
still
the
might not
same
help.
thing. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like the most known language in the world.
Would you rather German?
No, let's just wait. I just love how it's 3 men in this call, 1 woman, and we're calling ourselves predators. And
That's why I started going, whoa, whoa, whoa.
yeah, so I was like, let's not. I'm not a predator.
That was bad choice of words on my end because
No, I'm
I'm the
just
one who
joking.
started saying predator. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not
so-
that's not on
but
Slay.
yeah.
That's on me.
No, okay. We can go
Okay.
back. I just had to make it funny.
First of all, if anybody is just joining in and heard that, yes, we deserve that. But if anybody has sat here and listened to the whole conversation, they'd understand the context. But thank you for that realization. We'll go back
just
to
thought it was
being
funny.
monsters.
Monsters, there we go.
I
Yeah.
mean,
What?
weapons of mass destruction. No, I can't. Damn.
No,
Wow.
you can't
You
say
can't
that
really
either.
say anything.
That
Yeah,
doesn't sound any
What did
better.
he say?
yeah, exactly.
I
He
was
said
gonna say
weapons of mass destruction.
What the fuck?
It's-
That doesn't
Jesus,
sound-
what is wrong with
Dude, you're going the wrong way. That's not the way we're trying to go.
Jesus.
You were kind of right, then you were wrong again.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, damn, what am I doing to myself right
To
now?
make this come full circle, he's toxic. No, I'm playing.
What the fuck, bro? You know
And-
that's toxic, man.
And
That
we're
is
back.
respect.
We are back to square one.
Yeah.
Don't bring that World of Darkness quote into this.
There's plenty of quotes to
There are
be had
plenty of
from
things
World
I've
of
said that.
Darkness. Yeah.
But, we aren't going to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, in the context of the World of Darkness campaign, Adam, Connor, and James are all good guys because of the amount of destructive power that they possess, and yet they choose to use that in order to defend life rather than take it. So that's how I've always defined good people, is Superman level power and Superman level understanding of what's right and wrong.
Fair enough.
Enough said.
Enough said, my bro.
You know, when the pod's over, I got an outro for you. I'll spit it for you, freestyle.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're going to wrap this all up with the last talking point here. What precautions do you think that the rest of us should be able to take in order to avoid any sort of toxic behaviors or people that are toxic? What should we do to avoid, having these issues with them?
That is tough. Because my simple answer is just don't. If you know and you've been separating yourself from certain situations, just don't engage in them. Like if you can catch it early, nip it in the bud. Now, if it's someone that you have to deal with, and you try to communicate with them, but if not, I mean, even people you work with, you don't have to be best friends with them. You don't have to talk to them all the time, but you try to set a boundary. And if they cross that boundary, well, then you have to act accordingly.
Then you punch them in the face.
No, you definitely don't.
See, and she didn't want to be a monster.
Right.
I was joking.
No.
Jeez.
Oh, you chose. You just woke up and chose violence.
Have you guys never heard of a joke?
No. What's that?
Oh, well, that sucks for you guys then.
I think you need to teach us.
I'm a bad teacher.
You know, I think I lied. I think my toxic trait is that I'm too sarcastic.
Same.
You're sarcastic as shit.
Yes. I can't help it. It makes me very happy. Anyway, with that being said, I guess like the overall best practice is gauge relationships with your own, your own measurement of happiness. And if you feel like you're not happy in certain situations or even just in the presence of certain people, then maybe it's about time that you kind of associate whatever toxic things that they're doing that is disrupting your happiness. You need to kind of evaluate what you can do better to avoid running into situations that you're going to feel like this again.
Yeah, I concur.
Agreed.
Yup.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think
With
that
that
about.
With that being said, thanks for tuning in to today's podcast.
You know?
Well,
Hi, Davey. Spit them bars.
I was just about to say, Davey, take us on home, boy.
Everybody, thank you for enjoying another episode of Slay and Friends, where it all begins and ends, and being with us as we see this whole new way of life, new ways of looking through things from a different lens. This will wrap up our podcast. I hope to see you on the next one.
Peace.